Gayle Saunders here with Brendan Walker. Brendan Walker doing the damn thing over at the NFL Network. Also, Monday Night Football and doing your thing on Twitch at Brendan Walker NFL. How you been? It's been a long time. You're my resident old lineman. We're talking offensive lineman. How you been?
Right. What's up, Gail? I'm doing quite well myself. Yeah, the whole gig at the NFL is really doing well for me. Always excited to talk about offensive linemen for sure. Um, I'm ready to talk about the big folk over there in Philadelphia.
And when you say big folk, the number one guy that comes to my mind is the OG original gangster Jason Peters at left tackle. How are you feeling about Jason Peters? Everyone's he's long in the tooth. How long can this guy keep playing? How are you feeling about Jason Peters?
Well, to me, I think Peters is definitely proven me wrong in the past. I know we did this video a couple times before. I know in the past, I think I said either this season or the next season he's going to retire. He has continued to prove me wrong, and he's continued to prove everybody wrong. He's definitely keeping the pace at the age that he's at. He's definitely still viable for the Eagles at left tackle. I'm excited for him to do it. I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm not going to say he's going to retire this year, next year, because hey, he could play for whenever. I'm tired of getting proved wrong by this guy.
Yeah, and they've talked about him, being that Yoda, bringing along Dillard. We're talking about a guy who could probably be a starter on plenty of rosters, but with given our situation here, he's in an incubator system. He doesn't have to start away. I mean, how are you feeling about Andre Dillard?
Yeah, Andre Dillard definitely right now at the backup spot, but he's definitely groomed to be the successor for Jason Peters if or whenever he does retire. He's proven it in college. He's definitely a very elite pass protector. Decent in the run game as well, but his true strength is in the pass protection. If he gets groomed by Jason Peters, hey, no argument to that. He's probably one of the best mentors to Dillard until he starts for the team.
Yeah, I think Dillard showed a ton of tremendous movement skills at the combine. Really showed out. I thought he was a guy that the Eagles weren't going to get a chance to get in the draft. I thought he was going to go top 15, and I heard that the Eagles were trying to actually trade up to get him, but where he fell, it was perfect. But I think, like I'm mentioning him as like sort of like a starter because I feel like he has that potential. But moving down the line at the left guard spot, Isaac Seumalo, a guy, you've been pretty high on him in the past, right?
Yeah. I was pretty high on him coming in because I knew
Mm-hmm.
his versatility was a strong suit for him and the team. I just didn't know at this point when the Eagles just released their depth chart that he was actually going to be installed as the starting left guard. It's not at all a bad thing, but I definitely was shocked by the move considering all the left guard change that's happened in the past,
Yep.
and with the battle with Wisniewski in recent past.
So you feeling comfortable with Seumalo moving forward?
I think so. I think it's in the same situation as last year, although I know he's better than the people that were in that place quite a while ago. But I'm confident. It might be different where Wisniewski gets to come in and show what's up if Seumalo is struggling during a game or whatnot. But I think for right now, if coaches are saying he's good, he's mending well with the team, I think it's a good decision right now.
Now, moving down the line, guy needs no introduction. Jason Kelsey, I mean, all pro. I mean, the guy's been doing the damn thing for a while. How are we feeling about Jason Kelsey moving forward?
Kelsey, solid, elite guy. Really, there's nothing much else to say about him except that he gets snubbed in almost every category for anything outside of just playing football, right? Whether it's All Pro, a Pro Bowl, some award, he's done. He's at the top of the NFL in terms of center production,
Mhm.
and yet he's not getting the credit he deserves every year. He does get credit for his speech, though. That's what he does get.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles, in the offseason, there was the hints of Kelsey talking retirement. They gave him a little extra change. But I think, they have to start thinking about, who's going to follow his footsteps.
Right.
That's he's getting up there in age. I believe he's what 31 now. Jason
Upwards of
Kelsey.
30, 31.
the offensive line has gone through some, some injuries. Moving right down the line, Brandon Brooks, a guy who's been tremendous. He's been a tremendous player. How are you feeling about Brandon Brooks heading into the season with that injury?
Um, Honestly, at the beginning of it, I was quite concerned. I wasn't sure where he was headed or what his timeline was for the injury. I know in terms of backup right guard, you don't really have a lot. I know Vaitai said he could do right guard, and they have Matt Pryor there. So other than Brandon Brooks, you don't have a lot. So you're kind of just wondering, is he going to be healthy by week 1? Could he even be there by week 4? I know the Eagles have a somewhat easy schedule according to the league. Um, so for him in particular, Brooks is a key piece to the offensive line, given that it's one of the most underrated signings that the Eagles have had in recent team history. It's been a major upgrade. The team needs him there, otherwise the offensive line might struggle there on the right side.
Yeah, Brandon Brooks was a guy that I got to meet at the Thursday practice. Phenomenal dude, really, really chill. I got a lot of respect for that dude. I think the players do as well. I think that injury with him going down was detrimental for the Eagles. They couldn't get things going after he got hurt in that Saints game.
Exactly.
But like you mentioned, Big V. Big V is a guy who he's got the experience playing left tackle. Now they're playing him at right guard. You would think that Matt Pryor or maybe Wisniewski would get an opportunity to fill right in, but obviously they think highly of Big V. I think having that versatility, guys that are cross trained, that helps when coming down the road when you can only take a certain amount of guys on the road. Having guys that play certain positions. I mean, Isaac Seumalo can play all the positions.
Right.
But I think they're gonna have some interesting battles in preseason. See what Matt Pryor does, and see how Big V looks at right guard. But another guy who doesn't need any introduction. The guy, I mean, what right tackle in the NFL do you know that has abs
Right.
like Lane Johnson?
Right.
How you feeling about Lane?
Lane, like you said, nothing you can say except wow to him. He's one of the top premier right tackles in the league, if not the best. Um, one of the best draft picks that Chip Kelly had. Uh, it's hard to say that. It's hard to give Chip Kelly credit
Props, yeah.
for this team, but definitely one of the main pieces added to the team. Though, when you said the abs, I just got caught off guard. He's definitely, his body is shaped to be elite. Like that's what you want for an offensive lineman. You think offensive line is big, and you like big, but for his athleticism, I think his pure strength and the way that he looks just shows that he's ready to come back, and just be a top tier tackle again this season.
And the year before last year, he went up against some amazing talent. You're talking about Von Miller, Khalil Mack, DeMarcus Lawrence, like so many different Kerrigan twice, Jason Pierre-Paul. This guy was definitely proven. One thing about Lane Johnson last year, people they don't remember that he was playing injured. He had an MCL injury. I think it definitely showed, but he got out there and still competed. But I think I always say you're only as good as your depth. Are there any other guys on the back end of the roster that the Thunder from down under, Jordan Mulatto, is he gonna give us something moving right along?
I want to believe in Mulatto. I really do. I like him. I like his charisma. I like everything about him, that he's willing to go through and learn the game. He's still learning the game. Just because he might have looked bad in the practice, which I've heard he did a couple of days. He's still learning the game. He's still a young guy. He's just got all the attributes. He's a freak of an athlete, obviously, because he played rugby. But you got to give him a little bit of leeway. He's not going to be starting. He's not even going to be a backup for most of the positions, but he is learning that tackle role as I believe he's listed as the third right tackle on the team currently in the depth chart. So obviously the team still, is willing to look at him and keep him for the time being.
Yeah, I think we the expectations are very high in Philadelphia, as you always know. But I think Jordan Mailata, the movement skills and the ability to pick up and learn the game on the fly. Last year, he showed some stuff in preseason. I think that I'm sure Stoughton and the Eagles front office wants to see more progression. Hopefully, they're seeing that. But I think some people have talked about, is the project over? I think they've invested a lot in Jordan Mailata. I think keeping him away from other teams is something they've been trying to do. So I think it's going to be huge to see him in preseason. He's the one guy that I'm really looking at, seeing his development.
For sure.
Is it a possibility that they move him inside at guard? If try and cross train him if they don't feel like he's a tackle of the future. If Big V, another guy who might not be here next year, can Mailata be that backup guy and swing player? That's yet to be seen, but that's something I'm hopeful. Any of these back end roster guys excite you?
Honestly, beyond the backups, it kind of gets a little low there, but there are a few names that I've kept an eye on. Nate Herbig,
Mm-hmm.
Suo Peta, some guys that are kind of on the roster bubble. Potential to be practice squad guys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how many offensive linemen the Eagles are willing to keep on the active 53-man roster. It kind of gets a little bit close. I know linemen are for sure the way to go in terms of keeping a lot more than other positions. But Sua Opeta, I can't remember the guy who just got Casey Tucker,
Yeah, I got
Arizona State guy. Was he
yeah.
the guy that threw up on like the first practice or something like
I
that?
think he also got into a fight with Sharif Miller, I believe.
Oh,
He got a concussion as well.
okay. Well, then that's probably a bad sign if you're trying to fight one of your draft picks early on. But I don't know. Ryan Bates from Penn, I
Okay.
think would be good too. Only those three. I don't see any other people really on the roster bubble except those three.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes from them. We'll see. They've all been pretty good in camp so far, but the preseason will definitely tell who will be moving forward for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing about this offensive line group, I really think, the Eagles really poured a lot of money into the trenches. I mean, they value the position across the line. I feel like this is where you win. You're only as good as your offensive line, and then I also say you're only as good as your depth. And
Right.
what the Eagles are showing is they have a super, uh, you know, strong offensive line up front. They got some depth players. You got a guy like Andre Dillard who's just waiting in the wings, you know, not even suiting up. I mean, he'll suit up, but he's not penciled in as a starter yet.
Right.
That's what kind of depth this team has. And Big V, you're a left tackle who's a starter in the Super Bowl. This guy is your backup right guard. And then
Right.
when Brandon Brooks is ready to rock and roll, you have a ridiculous front five who can protect for Carson Wentz. But anything you want to add about the offensive line group as a whole?
I think the Eagles' offensive line is primed for a great season in 2019. They've received a lot of praise from outside the league. Pro Football Focus ranked them as the number one offensive line heading into 2019. That's some pretty big praise. I know PFF can get a little bit, people will say, oh, that ranking's bad, or this ranking, they rely too much on the rankings.
Right.
But when you get noticed like that and you're number one there for an option, you're not going to say, oh, they're number one, but so and so is going to happen. No, they've been recognized heading into the league that that they're ready to roll for 2019.
Well, tell the viewers out there where they can find you. I know you're big on Twitter, man. Got the I got the Brandon Walker NFL. That's pretty big deal. I mean, where can they find you on the
Yeah,
on the interwebs here?
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Twitter at BWalkerNFL. If you guys don't follow me already, I'm also on Twitch, like like it was said at the beginning, twitch.tv/Brendan Walker NFL. We do a show there, talk about NFL stuff, lead you guys to the articles that we write at Fourth and John, and yeah, just go back and forth from there. It's good.
Well, I'm Gayle Saunders, and that's Brendan Walker, and we are talking offensive linemen going into the season. We'll talk to you guys soon. And fly, Eagles, fly.